The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys StoryLine with Nick Eatman.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cowboys Storyline. I'm Nick Eatman. It's Friday, December 29th, and we are one day away from the Cowboys taking on the Detroit Lions. Don't be that person that forgets the game is on Saturday and then looks at your phone, social media, and all like, oh, they won? Or whatever. Hey, don't be that guy. Saturday night football, Cowboys and Lions. It's one that a lot of fans have been waiting for a long time, especially the halftime ceremony. Jimmy Johnson going into the Ring of Honor finally, and that should be fun to see. Not only just that interaction, but also the players that will be back to celebrate that. There should be a lot. I know Nate Newton's excited about that, but around that halftime thing, the Cowboys have a huge game to play against Detroit, and we all know what's at stake there. The Cowboys got to stay alive for a chance to win the NFC East. Still on the table. Eagles aren't running away from anybody right now, but Cowboys got to do their part and win this game. All right, 888-855-2297 is the number to call. Before we do that, I wanted to give a shout-out. I've done birthday shout-outs all week, and this is one of those things, but I want to give a shout-out to Rob Schultz. He probably listens to every single show, and he has since we started doing the storyline. He's with my mom, Texarkana, Texas. They watch every single day, give some critiques. Happy birthday to him as well. I know he'll be watching, maybe not live, but he'll be watching later on. It's a big part of their day, and that means a lot to me. All right, let's get it started. Tyrone is in Georgia. He, I guess, was just on Talking Cowboys, doing the double dip with the storyline. What's up?
Yeah, I just can't get enough. I'm excited about the playoffs coming up. By the way, Happy New Year! And I really enjoyed you getting fired up this week. That was awesome.
Yeah. I had to go back and watch that one and see. It was like, because a lot of people were like, "Wow, you were really into it," and I didn't notice it as much on the air. Went back and watched it and was like, yeah, we can tone it down a little bit. But, I mean, fans are passionate. I'm passionate. I mean, it happens as long as it's not too bad.
No, that's what makes it great. And you are generally very, very patient with everybody. And, but it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
I've got a little story and then a question. I grew up in Dallas, and when I was about 10 years old, my dad was a Gideon, those guys that distribute the Bibles and all that.
Okay.
And he asked me, he goes, I've got a prayer breakfast tomorrow. Do you want to go? You'd have to get up about like 5 o'clock. It's on the other side of Dallas. And I'm like, He goes, by the way, Tom Landry's going to be there. And I went, really? Count me in. So
nice.
We drove across there, and when I walked in the room, Tom Landry was sitting down, and he stood up, and he walked over to me, and he shook my hand, and I was like, I couldn't believe how big he was.
Right.
And he goes, son, he goes, I'm glad you're here. He said, did you come to pray with us, or did you just come to meet me? And I said, oh.
Both?
I said, I got to be honest. I came to meet you. And he goes, good answer. He goes, I like somebody that's honest. And he went and sat down, and I was in heaven.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, never met him. I never met Tom Landry.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, what do you think about this game coming up, man?
Man, I think it's going to be tight. I hope people don't take the Lions too lightly, from their past records. I just hope that we can get that running game on both sides, where it needs to be. We need to go into the playoffs with a strong and positive attitude. What do you think it'll take to spark them?
Yeah. Maybe I think, I was going to say, like, well, Jimmy Johnson going in the Ring of Honor, getting that crowd going. But I think the crowd will be going regardless. I think the crowd will be electric for that Saturday night game. I think that they'll have a good week of practice. I think they have had a good week. So it's losing two straight, knowing what's in front of them, knowing that this is a good football team. Dan Campbell and that group, they'll be coming in here ready to take the Cowboys' head off. So I don't think it's going to need a lot to get a spark. I think this team knows what's at stake and knows what they need to do in front of them. So I think they'll be ready to go, ready to fire. So all right, Tyrone, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. Let's get right to Greg. He's in Columbus, Ohio.
Hey, Nick.
What's up, Greg?
Hey, I'm kind of excited for this game. I'm really happy Jimmy's getting in finally.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first started driving a semi truck, I took a trip down to Dallas, and I stopped at Texas Stadium during the off season. I think it was like the 94, right before the 94 season, and did a tour of the Texas Stadium. And it was so weird how to see that arch in the field and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then took a tour of the conference room where they had all the flags and stuff. But they had every flag except one. Do you know what flag was missing out of that room?
No. What kind of flags are we talking about here? Like
the NFL teams.
Oh, NFL teams? Probably Washington.
It was one flag that was missing.
Who?
It was the San Francisco 49ers. And the guy who did the tour, he just said that Jerry just didn't like him.
Oh, well.
But my one of my favorite players when I was beginning to be a Cowboys fan was Mr. Doug Donnelly.
Doug Donnelly, nice.
From the Ohio State University.
Yeah, I think fans kind of thought he was going to be the next like Golden Richards. I mean, they had the same hair, maybe even wore the same number. And it was like this is the new version. It didn't really work out, but yeah.
Yeah, he had the hair like Tommy Wildfire Rich and Ric Flair and all those guys.
Yeah. Yep, but, definitely. All right, Greg.
You have a nice weekend and enjoy tomorrow night.
You too. Greg in Columbus, Ohio. I would say there's probably a lot of people from Columbus, Ohio here in this area right now as Ohio State takes on Missouri tonight in the Cotton Bowl. Maybe a lot of Ohio State fans there. I mean, there's Ohio State fans everywhere, but should be interesting game. I mean, bowl games are just interesting. I don't know what else you can say it. I watched some last night. You just don't know. Do they matter? Do they care? I mean, if the players that are playing on the team don't even care to play in the game, it's kind of hard to get everyone else involved. But still something to watch right now here during the holidays. All right, Ron in Silver City, New Mexico.
Hey, how you going, Nick? Hey, and just to honor your dad, Ron, 6'4", 250, story linebacker.
Yes, story.
So,
nice.
So
nice. He'll love that. Yes, story linebacker.
Yes, sir. 6'4", 250. I can start.
Dang, yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. Can you play? Yes, we need you. Mike, we got a linebacker in here. Yeah. Awesome. What do you think, Ron? What's going on? What's on your mind?
Okay, well, I got to start off with I've been on with you one time, and I'm a baseball player, so my mind's baseball.
Okay.
Okay, so
6'4", 250 baseball player?
Yes, sir.
Catcher?
Yes,
first base?
I had a gun, so I'm in the outfield, and then needless to say, because of size, they put me at first base, but I prefer third base. I still play, two-time world champ.
Okay.
High school state champ. Enough of me. But right. my mind is like baseball, and Mike McCarthy drives me nuts. Let's go with the Dolphins game real quick. If he just defers, we have the football one more time in the second half, we win. When we are at first and whatever you want to say, let's just go with the yard, you have a 6'4", 230-pound quarterback 4 stinking times he dives for a touchdown. He does not try to hand off. One time to the left side, one time to the right side. If you want to go the third. But with that being said, I need to start some controversy because I am a Dak fan, okay? But let me ask you a question. Trey Lance, how's he looking? At practice?
I'm not going to even lie to you and tell you that he's noticeable because you don't watch practice. We don't really get to see a lot of practice. And where he's practicing a lot is he's on the scout team. So from my perspective, we really wouldn't know how he's looking. He looks tall and he looks like he throws the ball around in pat and go session and stuff like that. That's not something you're really going to see a lot during our little 15 minutes of practice. So
okay, I'm willing to take a chance. This is what I would like. Let that go. Let's try to get a draft pick with a $60 or $50, which we're going to be good. Give me somebody else's, a free agent, stud linebacker, somebody's stud lineman, somebody's stud offensive lineman, and let's get a very good running back and let that go because we'll have all that extra money. Your thoughts?
Okay. I mean, that's your thought. I mean, I don't agree with that. I'm gonna keep Dak. I'm gonna keep him. I'm gonna keep this thing going right here. Honestly, that's what I would do. And keep tweaking some things. I think Dak's still got a lot of football left. I think he's figuring some things out. I mean, with this, with the coordinator, and I mean this year. I mean, I think he's been better this year. This wouldn't be the time for me to let him go because I don't look at it like it's 8 years. This is what he is. I see a big difference this year in how he's playing and the way he runs the ball as well. And he's just playing like a football player that I've always wanted him to be. And so I'm seeing it this year. So the money doesn't bother me. I mean, you got to pay quarterbacks. I just don't go to that theory. But I know what you're saying. I mean, what you're hoping for is to do all that and find the next Brock Purdy. That's what you want because you can get a cheap $900,000 quarterback that can play like that and then have all these other weapons. Just look around the league. Just look around the league at all the quarterbacks that are playing. That doesn't really work. It doesn't work that way a lot. But some teams do. Some teams it strikes gold, and it did in San Francisco. You're not wrong with that theory. I probably wouldn't go that route, and I don't think Jerry would either. I think Jerry would rather pay Dak and try to make this work around him. That's what I think he'll try to do. All right, Pastor James in Midland, Texas is our next caller.
Hey, Nick, how's it going today, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you doing, James?
Doing well. I have a quick Cowboy story for you right quick.
All right.
And then I'll go into my dad, of course, I'm a pastor, and my dad pastored for over 50 years, and that's the reason we moved to Midland.
Okay.
And when I was a baby, I was maybe 2 or 3 years old, probably maybe 4 at the most. A young lady from our church married Robert Newhouse's brother.
Okay.
So they came to, I think the wedding was in Odessa. And Robert Newhouse, of course, was in the wedding. And my dad was a huge Cowboys fan. And my mother really wasn't into football. But when my dad told her who Robert Newhouse was and they were introduced to him, he ended up grabbing her hand and kissing it. And all I heard all my life and all their lives was how once Robert Newhouse kissed her hand, all she could say was, "Oh, I'll never wash this hand again." So, after that, she knew exactly who Robert Newhouse was. She may not have known who anybody else on the Cowboys team was, but yeah, she definitely knew who Robert Newhouse was. So that was my little quick story about a past Cowboy. Okay,
he's great.
Now I've been trying to get on for the last couple of days because I heard all of that pessimism and stuff going on that day that they kind of had you hot under the collar. But like you said, everybody has their own opinion. But for me, who I've been a Cowboys fan all my life, I look at it like this. We're fortunate enough to have Super Bowl trophies in our trophy case where some teams don't have any at all. Now, true enough, we may have gone through a lull and people want to see things this way or that way, but I'm an optimist, and I really feel like that this team can really go further than they have gone before. I believe that last loss to Miami was a loss that they can, take and improve on and say, okay, we went to Miami against one of the top teams and we played fairly well. It just, it was just that we left too much time on the clock. But I just feel like people should be thankful for what we already do have, because there's a lot of teams that don't have any trophies in their trophy case at all from Super Bowls. And, I mean, just take it as a grain of salt. There's too many people that want to talk so much about Dak and about coach and about this, that, and whatnot. But just be grateful to know that we have championships. We want to see another one, but there's teams that don't have any. And I believe this week the Cowboys are going to come out with their hair on fire, with the great Jimmy Johnson being able to get put into the Ring of Honor. And I just feel like they're going to come out just encouraged and ready to play, and they're going to win 38-24.
All right. Thanks, James. Thank you for the call. You too. Have a good one. The thing about that is, and I'm just going to display both sides of this, is you're right. When you've been around a long time and you have stories, and your family has stories about Robert Newhouse and things like that, which I have. I have a Robert Newhouse story as well. I don't know if I'll tell it, but I mean I've been a fan of his for a long time as well. But there's probably a lot of people listening right now that don't know who Robert Newhouse is, because he played in a different time, different era, and these Cowboy fans, they don't really care about the 5 Super Bowls that happened, because they weren't even alive, or they barely even knew anything about them. And they heard their parents talking about them. They hear their grandparents talking about it. And they just want to experience it as well. And so, it's just different perspectives. We can be thankful of things like that because we've seen it, but it's been a long time where, I don't necessarily fault the fans that are like, man, I need to see this happen now, because you got to think about especially the callers, you guys, that are on every day, listening to these podcasts, getting on the website, looking at stories, looking at the injury reports, just trying to get everything they can, because they're living in the moment. And so you're living in the moment every single day. It's hard. You can't just rely on the past. You want this to be the moment. So I don't fault your attitude for thinking, hey, be thankful for what we have or what we've had. But you just got to remember, there's a lot of fans that have never had that at all. They don't even know what this is. So it's for both. I mean, you just got to find the balance. That's the key for me. All right, Michael's in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Finally got your book, If These Walls Could Talk, and it's kind of funny. You kind of read this book to us a little bit during your show, because there's a lot of stories.
You saying I tell the same stories over and over? Is that what you're saying, Michael?
Well, no, but you a few weeks ago, you basically read page 1 and page 2 about the Emmitt Smith stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
One thing I've got to comment about, just curious what you think. I've heard rumors, and I've seen little things, that there's 2 very successful coaches that might get excused from their jobs because they haven't done good in the past few years. And it's been mentioned, Dallas, get rid of McCarthy and get one of these guys. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention another team thing on the But I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I mean, I think Dallas is going to win their last 2, that would be 3 straight 12-win seasons for Mike McCarthy. I mean, I can't see getting rid of him under any circumstance. That's my opinion. Just curious how you felt.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, I think, it's also, too, him calling the plays. I mean, let's see what these last 2 games look like. But, I mean, I feel like he's done a really good job this year. And, he kind of put it on himself. He said, hey, if I'm going down, I'm going to go down the way I think we should do it, and let me call the plays. I worked with Kellen. Kellen was here when I got here. You wanted me to work with him. I did. We did our best. But it didn't really work out. I don't necessarily agree with everything, from a philosophical standpoint. So let me try it my way. And he's doing it. And I think Dak is playing better than he's played really ever, And so, and especially doing it with a running game that isn't really there. So I think you can do some things to help him around it. But I think Mike's done a good enough job. And I think we just got to, run it back. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build it. I think Jerry has learned his lesson over the years of just quit trying to change up coaches all the time. You got to build continuity. You got to keep building this thing. And I think Mike has done everything that you would want him to do, other than, you want to win in the playoffs. But the problem is that other than maybe that first year when they did lose at home to the 49ers, but they haven't been the better team. I mean, they've been good, but they haven't been the top team. So, Michael, I appreciate the call. Thank you. Sorry, I thought he was off the line. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I mean, I think he's had a good football teams here, but they've run into teams that have just played better and are better. And right now, they still. Jury's out on where they rank with Philly and Detroit, but it's pretty clear that the 49ers are a better team. Doesn't mean you can't go beat them, but I mean, I think that's kind of where they are. You got to get over the hump and beat these teams. I mean, just think about like Green Bay, back in the 90s with like Mike Holmgren, like building this team, and they just couldn't beat Dallas or the 49ers. They just weren't better than them. Until they got there, until they finally got better than them. But I mean, you didn't just say, well, let's get someone that, that can take us over the hump. I mean, you got to remember, this guy has got them to this point. So changing coaches to me just seems irresponsible. I wouldn't do that. Scott from New Hampshire. So our next caller, Scott.
Nick, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Got to say off the bat, I heard on one of your calls.
Yeah.
I think it was like a week ago. You mentioned you never had anyone call in from New Hampshire. So
this is it. This is our first one.
So I had to check that box off for you. I've tried in the past and never was able to get through, but lucky enough today, I was listening and I heard it was a couple calls ago. I think it was James called in and was talking about how he just wants to be, just positive and think about what we have in the championships. And I do agree with that in a sense. As far as just the history of what our franchise is.
Yeah.
And just the pride in that. But I mean, I'm 29 years old and I've been supporting this team since I can remember. I mean, I grew up, my dad was putting me in a Cowboys onesie. So I grew up, going through it, going to middle school and being surrounded by Patriots fans, and they're just winning nonstop and celebrating all these Super Bowls. And, for me and people in kind of my age group, we've never seen it.
Right.
So it's tough to find that positivity that maybe James has and to reflect on those Super Bowl trophies. And because it does feel like it's the same issues. I've grown up through seeing the Romo era and, even the Bledsoe era, but these years, and we look back and it seems like it's always the same thing, whether it's a different coach or a different quarterback. It's the turnovers, it's the penalties, it's the being undisciplined. And it's frustrating because it seems like with even the changes, with the Romo to Dak and these new players coming in, it's like those same things that are, hitting us in the back are continuing to.
Right.
And it's so odd that it's, whether it's different faces and different teams, it's the same little things.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I remember the Giants year very, very, that was our year that we were 13-3. We were going to win it all. We were the one seed, and the Giants came in and they really spoiled our whole time. And thinking if that team can do it, if they can turn it on, anything's possible.
Right.
Just punch your ticket into the playoffs and anything can happen. So, I mean, we always find hope and we find a reason to think our team can do it. but it seems to, it's always ended in disappointment so far. But I'm hoping, I'm positive, and hopefully, we can finally get one of those.
Scott, who is the? Is it New England? Is that the number one team up there in New Hampshire?
Oh, it's the Patriots. Yeah, 100%.
And then like Giants, Jets.
Yeah, I'd say so. The New York teams kind of come around us too, but they're also sort of like a rival. I mean, the Giants, obviously from their back and forth with the Super Bowls, and the Jets just being in the AFC. But I mean, growing up, they weren't even an afterthought. I think the only time they ever gave him an issue was when like it was Mark Sanchez and like Plaxico Burress were in New York. So like very different team. All
right, cool. I don't know much about New Hampshire, but it's one of those states where I can't see myself going to. I mean, I might one day, but just up there with Vermont, I don't know what's there. I mean, I am fascinated by it though. So
it's I would say it's coming this summer. Don't come in the winter if you're ever going to come. Adam Sandler, if you ever see one of his movies, he highlights Lake Winnipesaukee a lot.
Okay.
If you ever get the chance, come out to Lake Winnipesaukee. It's a beautiful place.
What movie is that?
Grown Ups is one of them.
Grown Ups, okay. I was thinking.
Like highlighted camp. Yep.
Okay.
Campground. So he has the whole cast that goes to Lake Winnipesaukee, and he's wearing a UNH hat and things like that. But no, it's mountains, it's lakes.
I was thinking like Mr. Deeds or something like that. Like that's what I thought. That's what you were talking about.
I think that actually might be mentioned. I mean, a lot of it's featured in New York in Mr. Deeds, but I think New Hampshire is actually part of that as well.
Scott from New Hampshire. I love it. All right. Thank you for the call. Knock off another state. Is it, I think, Chris, is it Montana? I think it's Montana and Rhode Island. I think those are our two that we're not really sure on. We did get Alaska, we've got Hawaii, got Alabama. So we're rolling here. We got North Carolina. How about that? Eric from North Carolina.
Hey, Nick. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm not quite as nervous as when I called last week.
Yeah.
Calm down a little bit. But what I wanted to ask you was, I wanted to talk about Pollard for a second.
Okay.
It seems I know our O-line isn't creating the holes that we would like, but it still seems to me like Pollard is really pressing the hole, like really pressing the line. It seems like he needs to be a little bit more of a patient runner, and I just wanted to ask your opinion there, and then a question about the center. I know Biotish. This is the last year of his contract, and I noticed the Cowboys haven't tried to re-sign him.
Yeah.
Just kind of a curious thing there. I know you don't want to talk drafts, so I won't go any further.
That's tricky. I mean, that one, the Biotish deal is a little bit tricky. I think that they have looked into it. I think his long-term health is going to be a factor too, just kind of where he is health-wise. I mean, he plays through some things, but
I know he always has ankle problems.
He's got some stuff, and it's just one of those positions. Like, can they get better there? Can they get?
Oh yeah.
Is he going to improve to the point where, he's I don't think he's a liability, but I just think he's just solid. And he made the Pro Bowl last year. There were some circumstances there.
Yeah, he did.
There were some. I think the Eagles guy went in, and there was a couple of injuries as well. I don't see him making the Pro Bowl this year, but
probably not.
But going back to the Pollard thing, Pollard he's an undersized, tailback. I mean, his speed and quickness is his thing. So being patient is harder for guys like that because on one hand, you could say be patient, find that hole, and then hit it. But he's also got to get there because also when you're patient, that's when the defense comes and you're not going to be carrying defenders 7-8 yards down the field. Like you've got to see it, hit it, and go. And I thought he does a nice job with it, but it's not he made a mistake the other day and he admitted it. I mean he was like, I should have gone to the outside. I thought it was an easier route to just go inside, and I think he was surprised that he got picked up and thrown down like that. I mean he was right there. He could sniff the end zone, and I still think that was probably the biggest play of the game because of what happened afterwards.
Yeah, he just like swift and kind of thin. I wish he had just dove.
I know.
Dove.
If you just dive, there's no way that they're knocking him out. There's no way.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh no, it just that is really. The best thing about our offense is our passing game, and of course I'm no O-line coach, but I wish they would try a few draw plays.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like that would work.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a big fan of that, of the lead draw. But they don't. Yeah, they don't do it as much. They certainly don't. But
yeah. And it's like, and it seems like the Cowboys O-line like has never been a good screen team, which I know that takes all the O-linemen to be, almost choreographed. They have to work in
athletic and get out there in space and have patience too. That's one. Yeah, they haven't been great at it. We've seen it some. I mean, we have seen it. They have thrown it, but yeah, they've never been great at it. And I can't tell you a good reason why that is, because you've had running backs that can catch the ball, you've had linemen that can get out in space. So it's one of those that just doesn't seem like it's a lot of it too is the coordinator, maybe like and then the play caller, just their experience over the years on certain plays of what's worked for them, and I'm sure that's part of it too. So.
Oh yeah, I appreciate you. Right. And the last thing I'll leave you with is like another favorite obscure player that I wish that we had longer than we did, which is Lawrence Robinson, wide receiver. And I think we only had him for a part of a year, but he and Romo had such a connection, and Robinson was so fluid, and I just wish we had re-signed him. I think he went to the Bucks and did nothing.
He had some concussion issues there when he went to the next team. I mean, so thanks for the call, Eric. Yeah, LaRon Robinson, he was kind of a mystery because when he got to the Cowboys, I think, what are we talking here, 2011 maybe, 11 or 12? Those 8 and 8 years, I get kind of mixed up because they're the same. But he came here and he was with Atlanta, and the Cowboys had a couple of coaches from it that had been with Atlanta and been with him there, and they weren't really keen on him. They didn't. I don't think when he was with the Falcons, he was a young player and just didn't do a whole lot, and I don't think that their expectations were high at all. And he got here and he had a really big season. He had 11 touchdowns, and he didn't do a lot other than that. I'm not saying he's Chris Carter. All he does is catch touchdowns, but I mean, he had a good season, but he was just catching a lot of touchdowns, and that turned it into a contract for him. And then I think he had some concussion issues. He just wasn't the same. I want to say Jacksonville maybe is where he went, but I could be wrong. But he went to another team and just wasn't the same. Didn't have that big year that he had here with Romo for sure. All right, let's go with. We got a text question. Mark, he's from Elkridge, Maryland. He says, if the Cowboys get a 1st and goal, would you give the fullback the ball? I certainly would. I don't think one fumble should stop the team from adding another possible threat. Yeah, I would. Especially the way he kind of plunged in there without the ball. I mean, but I think, he was getting first downs. I would do that. I wouldn't go away from it. Figure out what happened. There was some miscommunication, it sounds like. I don't think he just dropped the football. I think there's some miscommunication. Figure that out and give him the ball a little bit more. He was new, and he still hasn't got the football a ton. So if you think it's something that can help, then, get back on the horse and do it again. All right, Rob in Vegas.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Rob.
I look at the Lions and I see the Cowboys. I mean, they're very similar. They're both trying to prove to the league that they're good and that they could win. They got blown out by the Bears We lost to Arizona. There's questions. Can they really beat, good teams? Jared Goff is, number one draft pick. Is he good enough? Dak is still trying to prove that he could win.
Right.
So I look at these two teams, and they're just so similar. To me, Cowboys have to have this game because, first of all, it's Saturday night. Everybody's going to be watching. We lost 2 in a row for the first time, so that's out the window where, we don't lose 2 in a row. And now you're at home where I think we won 14 or 15 in a row. If you lose at home, now you got nothing to hang your hat on. I think this game is simple. We are 0-4 when we don't get turnovers on defense. If we create turnovers, we're going to beat the Lions.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the score would be like 37-23 Dallas. I just think this game, I think the Cowboys are going to look at the Lions like it's the Lions. I know they're good, but there are certain teams, like when Dallas looks at the 49ers, they say, oh, man, I'm not saying we're intimidated, but maybe we are. But they're not towards the Lions. And I just think –
Is that a good or bad thing?
For this team, it's a good thing. This team don't like to get punched in the mouth. This team, like I said, is fast break basketball. This team wants to go up and down the field, offense and defense. They don't want smash mouth football.
You talking about the Lions?
Well, the Lions are going to try to do that. If they're smart, they're going to try to run the ball at us. They'd be stupid not to, and that's why the offense needs to be the defense. If we could get a lead, 10, 14 points, and put the ball in Jared Goff's hands, I love our chances because he's not going to scramble out of there. And every time I envision Micah Parsons just all over him when I remember them playing him.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a must-win, not technically, but just psychologically. You like I said, you're at home Saturday night. It's the Lions. It ain't the top dogs that you think who are the top dogs,
right.
The Eagles and the 49ers. You got to beat this team, and I think they will. I think if they create a couple turnovers, I just think this is the game that the Cowboys usually shine.
I agree. I think they will too. I think that and the way it's kind of working too with, they've lost 2 straight, and the Lions do have the record that would get your attention, and the Lions have won some games here. It just seems like it's a good recipe for the Cowboys to get back into what they're doing and take care of business. And the Lions, hey, they're good. I mean, look at their record. I mean, they are what they are. They did get their ass kicked by the Bears. I mean, like a couple weeks ago. I mean, and you can say the same. Cowboys against the Cardinals, Cowboys against the Bills. It happens. I'm not saying that the Cowboys aren't. The same thing can happen to them. I'm just saying if you've been beaten by the Bears like this month, then you can get beat by the Cowboys here at home. I mean, you can. They're going to bring their intensity too. I mean, there's no doubt they'll bring it, but.
Yeah, Dan Campbell is definitely, let's face it, he's good. He would love to win in Dallas.
Yeah.
Especially Jimmy Johnson night. But I just think, like you said, and plus I think it was the last team that played the Lions. The guy threw for 400.
Right.
And I don't even know. I think it was Mullen or somebody. I mean, like Dan Marino.
Sure.
So this is a Dak game.
Right.
Let's forget about the running game. We're not having the Emmitt Smith Zeke rookie year running game anymore. A little bit of running. Let's get some big plays. Let Dak cook, and let's do our thing. And like I said, get a couple of turnovers on defense, and I think we could blow this team out 37-23.
All right. Sounds good. All right, Rob, thanks for the call. Look forward to hearing from you next week. I know you'll get in there a few times. Speaking of doing that, Anthony in Rhode Island.
Nick, it's a pleasure to talk with you.
What's up?
Nothing much, but
something tells me. Hold on, though. Something tells me though that you have called before.
Oh, but no, I haven't. Years ago, when you were on Talking Cowboys, but I've tried to call in, but I've never yet got in to talk with you. But it is an honor to talk with you today.
It's an honor to talk to you too. And here we go. Yeah, first time caller, and. I think it's first-time state. I mean, I don't know about we've had another one from Rhode Island, so we're going to go with it. Doesn't matter now because we definitely have. How's it going?
It's going good. Actually, I do have a story, and this is when the Patriots were training at Bryant College back in the day. So I'm walking on the side of the line to the field with Bill Parcells, and I said to him, I said, "Hey, Bill," I says, "aren't you glad you don't coach the Giants anymore?" And he says, "And why is that?" I said, "You don't have to play the Cowboys twice a year." You know, and he just looked at me. He just looked, gave like a, "That's a stupid."
Bill's not gonna like that. Like he's like, "We beat them all the time." Yeah.
Well, not when they were that good, but it was just an honor to be near him and talk with him. Oh yeah, I got his fire going a little bit, but I'm excited about tomorrow night's game because of Deuce Vaughn. I feel like if they just utilize this guy's talents, instead of just running him, ramming him through the middle, I think the speed that this guy has can really bring a spark to the team. And I just wanted to hear what you had to say about that.
All right. Thanks for the call, Anthony. I appreciate that. Knock another state off the list. I think Wyoming. We're looking at you, Wyoming. And Wyoming, you're the Cowboys. I mean, that's where the real Cowboys are. So Wyoming is the one that we're looking at now. I think that would be the last state. Deuce Vaughn. I have a hard time thinking that he is going to just be the true backup here. If I were them, I'd get creative. I'd figure out a way to get Malik Davis on the roster. You can get him on there. I don't know how. There's somebody you could move to injured reserve if you need to, or try to get back to the practice squad, or just outright release. I don't know. I think there's something you can do there. I would get Malik Davis on the team. But Deuce, he's not going to just be your traditional back. He's not just going to come in and say, "All right, this is his series of snaps." But they've had him all year long. They know what he can do. They know that he's a unique player, and so they're going to have to figure out different plays for him. We talked about the screen. What better player to run the screen than Deuce? Because number one, you got to find him. You got to locate him, and then he's gonna before you know it, he could be right past you. So if the Cowboys can, and we've seen some plays if they can be creative with him, but he's got to prove that he can kind of do it at this level. He's done it in preseason games, probably against guys that aren't on rosters. Like, these guys tackle. These guys make plays, and he's got to be able to do that. He's got to be able to make some guys miss in the open field and kind of show that I'm not saying he belongs, but he's got to show that he can make plays in regular season games. So not easy to do. He's probably going to get an opportunity to do that. I still would figure out a way. I mean, from a special team standpoint and everything, I think they got to try to find a way to get Malik Davis up there if possible. Alan in Long Island.
Hey, good morning, Nick. Just
morning.
A couple points I'd like to make. Number one, something you said earlier always stuck with me, and it's so true.
Okay.
You don't choose to be a Cowboy fan.
Right.
Cowboys choose you. You're so right on that.
Yeah, and that's not my original. I mean, somebody told me that a long time ago about being a fan of teams, and I always think that way. It chooses you. And so, and a lot of these fans that are like, "Hey, I've never seen the Cowboys win. I've never seen them. I'm young. I'm 30. I'm 25, and whatever. I've never seen them win." Like, and y'all deserve it. Y'all deserve it. But somebody passed it down and said, "Hey, we watch the Cowboys in this house." And it's awesome. But you guys deserve it too. So
100%. I mean, I'm the son of immigrant parents, and they don't know a damn thing about football, American football. But being a little kid, what's the thing I see on TV? I'm 36, so when I'm 6 years old, 7 years old, what do I see on TV? I see the star on TV.
Nice.
So kudos to Jerry for that, and that's the reason why I'm a Cowboys fan.
And kudos
all the way here in Long Island.
Kudos to you, because living out there and seeing other teams win. You've seen the Giants win a few times. You've seen the Patriots win. I mean, you've seen Eagles win. You've seen teams win up there, and the Cowboys. Kudos to you for sticking with it. So I mean,
yeah, 100%. I appreciate that. So just 2 points I'd like to make. Luke Schoonmaker. Obviously, we're playing the Lions, so I think Luke Schoonmaker, he's our second-round pick, and you see how well Laporte is doing. But, I still love Ferguson. Ferguson is, to my opinion, I think he's our future tight end. And
right.
We saw that last year. We saw glimpses last year of Ferguson and how good he can be. He obviously has a connection with Dak. I'm just wondering, I believe Schoonmaker's a little older. I think he's 25 when we drafted him from Michigan. Are we having any regrets in drafting this guy when clearly we have a linebacker need, a running back need? That's my first point. You can. My second question is.
Go ahead.
Dak.
Yep.
I do like Dak, and I'm not going to hit it with a but like everyone else did. But but. I'm sorry. Question about Dak. Obviously, it appears that Jerry and him, they want to sign an extension. Now, when you look at Brady, Rodgers, they're obviously two of the all-time greats. He obviously took a pay cut. Now, Dak, I truly do think that Dak wants to win. But he's the quarterback of America's team. I see this guy on a commercial every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Is it possible that he would take a pay cut? Well, not a pay cut, but to take less money so that we can sign other players to help this organization win a Super Bowl? Or is that something he's not allowed to do because the NFLPA won't allow it? So I'm just curious about that, if you can educate me and the other.
Well, the NFLPA, you can do it. Tom Brady didn't take a lot of money towards the end of his career when he was clearly the best. So yeah, you can take whatever contract you want. They frown against it, and it's kind of one of those things where the agents, they want everyone to kind of be on the level there. But Dak could take any deal that he wants, and he certainly could do that. And we went through that whole thing, with Dak being the quarterback, and he can make more money doing that. But you got to remember this: you're right. You can make more money as the quarterback of the Cowboys than you could maybe in another team. That's a fact. But you're not going to get the same. It's a different job. It's a different for your life, for your livelihood, for your family, for your friends, for your own peace of mind. You deal with a lot more crap being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So what's the price tag for that? I don't know. And that's why I think it's always kind of balanced itself out. And that's why we've never really seen I'm going to take less money because I get these endorsements, because you get a lot. There's a lot that comes with being the quarterback of the Cowboys, good and bad. So I think it always, that part just kind of evens itself out, and they pretty much get what they're going to get. That's my opinion on that.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, all right, Alan, good call. Thank you. We got one more call to make. Thank you for the call. Chris in Corpus Christi, Texas, but I think you're a lot closer than that, right?
Yes, that's right. I'm at the Omni here to start Frisco, in town for the game.
Nice. All right. Well, maybe we'll see you walking around there. We're gonna go get lunch here in a little bit. Maybe I'll see you around. What do you got? How's the Star looking over here? Is this the first time you've been?
First time we've been. Yes, it's we're overlooking the Tostitos Plaza. It's beautiful. It's nice. It's everything I thought it would be.
Yeah. It's they didn't cut any corners. That's the line Brandon Cooks said when I interviewed him the very first time. He said, "I love this place. They didn't cut any corners when they were making it." And that just kind of stood out to me because they don't. They don't do that when it comes to building the stadium, building the Star and all this stuff. And it's immaculate. It's really awesome.
Agreed. No, so I've been long-time listener, long-time fan. Just wanted to call and say hello to everybody. Congratulations on the show. I listened to them all, so you could tell everybody I said hello.
All right.
Overall, just enjoying the season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of folks that call in and complain about this and that, but overall, it's been a great season. The ups and downs and everything we got going on, I feel like is all contributing towards the end goal, which is a playoff run and ultimately a Super Bowl title.
Yep.
I agree with what everybody's saying as far as complaints here and there, but overall, they just got to sit back and enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
It's going to be a good one.
Enjoy the ride for 100%. Yep. And you got anything else, or is that it?
No, that's it.
Right.
And thanks for taking my call.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I'll say this real quick. I got to get off the air. Cowboys break coming in. But this is kind of a weird time. I call it kind of the holding pattern because there's not a whole lot that's happening right now. They're going to make it to the playoffs. It's outside chance to win the division, so you still got things to play for. You want to see this team win on the road. That's not going to happen right now. You're not going to see a road win. So nothing they could beat the Lions, which will help your confidence, but nothing's really, really going to happen that will get you super excited and feeling better about how they do in the playoffs because they're running out of opportunities for that. So that's why it's kind of weird. Where do we go? What do you look forward to for these next 2 or 3 weeks? And so I look at records, I look at history of Jimmy Johnson going in and things like that. There's a lot to be excited about, but I do understand how it's this weird holding pattern for fans right now. But we'll see what happens when the Cowboys take on the Lions. We'll talk to you guys on Tuesday about it. There'll be no shows on Monday. We all will be celebrating Happy New Year. See if we'll be celebrating a Cowboys win. But we'll talk about it all on Tuesday on Cowboys Storyline. For Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll see you next week. See you next year. See ya.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!